Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. The NFL draft is coming up, y'all. This is one of my favorite times of the year where I get to combine my love of college football and my love of the NFL, put them together, and really see what guys are going to project from what they were in college to what they were in the NFL. And it really starts to highlight the fact that you're starting to see two really different games. You know, of course, there have always been guys who were great college players and then not so great NFL players. But I think you're starting to see the divide get wider and wider every year to where the prospects that are, you know, the long arms and they're tall and they're really big or whatever, when they're going out of high school, when they're recruited out of high school, don't necessarily have that dog or don't have the work ethic or whatever it is you want to call it by the time they get to college and come to find out, and they end up busting. Guys that are high 4 and 5 star guys ended up not being great, highly recruited guys from high school to college. It ended up not being great NFL prospects. And then just the opposite, you get some guys out of schools you've never heard of or non-traditional powers opening up and becoming really great NFL prospects. So it just goes to show that it doesn't matter where you come from or how many stars you had or if you had any stars at all, you can be a great player in the NFL. So I want to start off with running back because that's kind of the one that I know the most. It's one I start the most film on because, you know, my son is a running back and that's where I've put a lot of my bones at in the football world. So no secret, the number one prospect this year is Bijan Robinson, running back out of the University of Texas, 5'11", 215 pounds, really like prototypical size, doesn't need to get much bigger. He went 4.46 640 at the combine. That is not blazing speed, but that is definitely good enough speed. And that's what I think you should have at some of these positions. There are definitely some no-goes where it's like, that's just too slow. But also, there are guys that people get wowed by speed at the running back position. And they go like, who cares? He's not going to be running 40 yards open field very often. You need to have a really good 10-yard split. You need to show explosion. You need to be able to go from a stop and a start and acceleration very quickly. And some guys really need a lot of, they need a lot of runway to get up to that speed. And no NFL linebacker gonna let you do that. So it doesn't really matter that you're flying really fast when you're running straight, when nobody's gonna let you run straight. So their quickness and burst, acceleration, those things are much more important at the running back position. And when you look at Bijan Robinson's film, I just don't see a whole lot of flaws. I think he's the best running back to come out of college since Saquon Barkley. And I think he might be a little better than Saquon Barkley when it comes to catching the ball out of the backfield. He is a very good receiver. He's got great feet. He gets you very good yards after the catch. I would not call him a power runner, but so much like it's very hard to bring him down unless you've got very good angles on him. So he's a big enough, strong enough guy that he can run through tackles. He can get through small spaces, not just because he's really fast, but more of like he's fast enough to make it so that you can't get enough on him to really bring him down with that first tackle. Only negatives I've seen, like I said, he's not a power back, but he doesn't really need to be. But I would say he's got great balance, so it's like he can run through, stay up, and continue to get those yards after the catch. Some people say he might be a little too indecisive. He doesn't really have that go from lateral to plant the foot in the ground and get upfield, crossing the line of scrimmage, getting north and south. He likes to pick. And he can be very good at that. I will say, though, that with a guy his size, probably more in his best interest to burn up field. As far as places I think he could end up, I think for most teams I would say not do this, but I think my Eagles actually maybe should take a look at him at 10. It's a luxury pick. The Eagles they went to the Super Bowl last year and they have a top 10 pick. I think they are also a really good candidate to move down and pick up maybe another pick next year. It's just a luxury. There's not a lot of places for a rookie to even make the team on the Eagles roster. Yes, I am a homer. Yes, I'm saying that. But they went to the Super Bowl last year, guys. So rookie defensive lineman, you could take one to add to a rotation. You could take an offensive lineman as a rotation, but that's what the Eagles do. They take offensive and defensive linemen. I look for them to maybe break the mold and do something a little different. Maybe go at 30, go like tight end. If they don't get running back at 10, I do think they're going to go running back at 30, 31, 30, which is their next pick. So the next running back I have is Jahmyr Gibbs. He is a running back out of Alabama, originally from Georgia, and he went to Georgia Tech, which is just kind of mind-boggling for a kid that had this kind of talent coming out of it. Maybe he was a homebody. Maybe somebody gave him a back. Who knows? But he ended up transferring to Alabama. And not only was he the number one rusher for Alabama this year, he was the number one receiver, receptions. I think somebody else had more yards, but he had more receptions than anybody else at Alabama. That is, I don't know if that's saying really good things for him or really bad things for Alabama's wide receivers. He is very fast. He went 4.36 640. He's and he also is 5'9" and 199. He did not strike me as being that big on film. I don't think he plays at that weight. If I had to guess, I'd say like right after the season, he probably bulked up. But if he could run a 4.3, a mid 4.3 40 with some extra weight that he probably doesn't play with, that actually says a lot about his burst and his top end speed. So he hits holes very quickly. He has great pause with the hit holes. He has great hands, like exceptional, soft, natural hands. He's going to be an amazing catch out of the backfield. He's going to be a matchup problem for even if you put safeties on him. You're going to have to put a nickel corner or something on him out of the backfield. He doesn't really have a lot of contact power, though. Like if you expected him to run through tackles, I don't really think that's his game. He's going to struggle in pass protection if he has to do that, but it's one reason why I don't think he's an every down back. I think you're going to be bringing him in as a pass catching specialist, second and third down. You can probably put him out wide, put him in motion, put him out wide, give some linebacker fits if you got him in the background. So a team like the Eagles at 30 makes a lot of sense to me. You could also see maybe the Cowboys hop in like right before that. I don't think he fit. Like everybody complains about the Bills and their running game. Don't think he really fits. I think you need, if you're going to play up in that cold, you're going to need a running back that's much more of a grinder, much more of a power back that can kind of a match for what you get out of Josh Allen. I do think, though, for Philly that would be a good match, a kind of a thunder and lightning type of thing. If Eagles decide to go running back, they lost Miles Sanders. So I do think they're going to go running back. I think either one of these players would be a good fit for them. I expect also maybe KC at 31 for Jahmyr Gibbs and the Dolphins at 51. So about mid second round, you add another player. You got Jalen Waddle to add him to already having Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. It's basically going to be a track meet at that point. Speaking of track meet, so what I'm going to talk about now is I'm going to have two running backs, one that I think is very underrated and one that I think is very overrated. So for the underrated guy, I'm talking about Devon Achane. They call him A-Train. He's a running back out of Texas A&M. So he is, in my opinion, light. He is a track guy, and if you know track and football, you can see the parallel between guys that are more track guys that play football and guys that are football that ran track. And I think Achane is more of a track guy that played football. He's not a bad football player by any stretch, but you can see that he doesn't have great lateral movement and he does not have great balance, but he does have amazing speed. Speed is a skill all its own. Just not something you can replicate. It's not something you can build. You can make it a little better. You can make somebody more efficient, but the kind of burst that he has, you can't teach that. I believe he was a 10.2 or 10.300 coming out of high school, which is god-awful fast. It is absolutely blazing. Anybody that tells you, like, some of the best receivers and running backs you've seen in the league were like 10-8 guys in high school. They weren't all blazing 40. Not all of them are blazing 40s, and they're still great NFL players. But I consider him to be more of an upright runner. He will run inside. That's the other thing, is that even though he's a smaller guy, and I think of him as more of a, he'll run inside. He can give you, he'll give you some quick bursts and run by a linebacker and give you problems. Like I said, I don't think of him as being really decisive and having great vision at the running back position, but I do think he can be effective if you send him somewhere where they have a main back and you bring him down as more like a 3-down guy. Of a third down back. I think he can be effective. I'm looking at the Dolphins at 51, maybe Dallas at 58. They need to replace Zeke, but Zeke is a much different type of back. If you bring somebody in like this, you're going to need to bring in probably a free agent to carry the load. And the underrated guy, I'd like to say thank you for Black Mothers for making up names and making them very hard to spell. So this is Tyjae Spears. Sure. So he is a running back out of Tulane. He is 5'10 and 201 pounds, which is a really, I think, an optimal size for a running back. If you make him too tall, high center of gravity, unless you're Eric Dickerson, I really don't particularly care for running back to be very tall. He did not run a 40 at the combine. That is a bit of a concern for me. But I will say this, when people are not blazing fast, they know they're not blazing fast. They know that's not the best part of their game, so they're just going to avoid it. If they have to do it at all, they're going to do it their pro day instead of doing it because their pro day, that 40 can be more like 39 and a quarter yards instead of a full 40. So if you got something to hide, that's where you want to do it. He did put up 18 reps on the bench at 225. I was impressed by that. He is very consistent. I really like what I see out of him, kind of a complete package where it's like jack of all trades and master of none. He does catch out of the backfield well. He does have good burst. He's got good vision. He had 21 touchdowns last year, so he's got a real nose for the end zone. One of those guys that finishes runs, stays up, got good balance. He's very consistent in what he do. He's just not a burner. He's not crazy fast. And I don't think everybody really needs to be. I think when you're the running back, just need to be effective. You need to help me have a good, but he can be a part of what I think would be a great running game, but not necessarily a fantastic running back. So what I'm looking at, I think maybe the Bills, Seahawks, and Patriots. Second day guy, probably. So we're talking third, fourth round, probably more likely because he is from a smaller school. That is not having the same negative effect that it had probably like 15 years ago. You're seeing more and more small team or smaller team guys end up in the draft and going rather high. And I think you're going to see more of that in the next few years, especially with guys like transferring out. You're going to see guys have gone to multiple schools, might have started at like a Texas A&M, ended at Sam Houston State, or started here, ended up at UCF, or ended up at Florida A&M, or something like that. You're going to see more of those things happen. Some of it's just a matter of depth where the person chose to go. It's a mistake that I see a lot of players taking out of high school. You see yourself as being at Big State U, and then choose to go there as a 3 or a no-star player where you're not going to get a lot of reps and they're not going to consider you to be a priority on their depth chart, and those guys end up transferring and putting tread on the tires, playing for some place that doesn't really value you. So I expect you're going to see some of these small school players doing better and better as far as where they get drafted. The scouts are getting better at picking up small school guys instead of just going, oh, this guy went to Big State U and he was awesome there. We're like, but can you isolate a guy and say, is he great or is his offense great? Is he great or is his blocking great? If you see like wide open runs all the time through like gigantic holes, that's not him. Any running back could run through that stuff. I could run through some of the holes that you get at Alabama. Holy crap. So you'll see that. Like you look at a place like Georgia, a place like Alabama, where they're going to get great offensive lines. And sometimes their running backs work out and do great in the NFL, and sometimes they don't. Regardless of the status of what they have, they're surrounded with great players. So if you were a running back at a place like a Tennessee or something, where yes, they've got a lot of resources, but they're not necessarily 4 and 5 star deep at every position, you can hone in on one player that can really hurt you and try to shut that guy down. In a place like Alabama, try to stop the running game, they're just going to spread you out. They got multiple ways to beat you. That's not the way it is everywhere. So I think you're going to see Tyjae Spears is going to be an impact player in the NFL, and I don't think A-Chain really is. But that's kind of the way it goes. You're starting to see a real difference in what is effective and what makes a great high school to college prospect and what makes a great college to NFL prospect. And so, going to do wide receivers next. That's my time. Take it easy.